Good evening, everybody. This is Kathryn Lovewell from Kind Mind Academy, welcoming you to MSc Bite Size. Now, today I'm going to readjust this screen and see if I can get the technology right tonight because, drum roll please, the amazing Shamash Alidina will be joining us. Yes, the mindfulness guru, the man that's right out there in the world of mindfulness, kindfulness, the Museum of Happiness, all things groovy and gorgeous and fabulous. So I'm going to do my best to see if he is online now. As we're right on the hour, hopefully we will have success. Lovely to see you, Vicky. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Liz. So if I have done it correctly, this should, oh no, that's that. Let's see if I can, no, he's not on yet, so we shall see when he arrives. Meantime, I'd just like to welcome anyone who's never been on MSc Bite Size before. More and more we are inviting awesome people. There he is. He's on board. So let's see if we can connect him. So we are, let's see. It's not letting me add him. Hopefully this will work in a minute. So Shamash, I can see you're here. You do need to request to join me. So there should be a little icon that comes up saying add. If you are on your phone, this should work. This could be tricky if not. And I will definitely have to cry. So, hello Susie, hello Carol. Thank you for joining me. Now, Carol, perhaps you can let us know what you are doing differently to Shamash, because it says I could add you as a speaker tonight, but not Shamash. So, what to do? Good evening, hello, thank you for coming. Hey Eva, lovely to see you. I know, it's a very exciting night, Shamash being here. I do not understand why. Yes, thank you, Carol, for laughing. Why you're not coming on. There's no add button, Shamash. So the lovely Liz would like to work her magic, or if anyone has any suggestions, I've only got an add button for you. And I know, Carol, you're always on your phone when you connect here. So I know Shamash said he would be on his phone. Vicky, I can now add you, which is lovely. So we could have a chat now, much more easily than we did last week. However, so Vicky, if you could tell me what you've just changed, because now you've come up as an add on the phone. Yes, so Shamash, I can see you're here. If you could type something in, or came through Liz's invite. Curious and curious. So Shamash has now disappeared off the screen. So let's see, perhaps if he rejoins. There he is. Oh, let's see if that works now. Yes, it does. I don't know what you changed, but this is good news. Please, I am adding the amazing Shamash Alidina. And he will appear any moment now. And if you don't know who Shamash Alidina is, let me introduce you. He is the author of many mindfulness books. Hey! You made it!
Selfcompassion.
I'm so happy.
I feel we've achieved what we need to achieve today.
That's it. We can go home now.
Our work here is done.
Oh, welcome, Shamash. I have been so excited about this all day. Well, ever since we arranged to do this. Everyone who's watching, thank you for your patience. This is the amazing Shamash Alidina. He is the author. Yay! He's here. And Shamash is a very, very serious mindfulness teacher. And you will learn a little bit about his history. He's very serious because he's been a teacher as well. And he's good at science. I know, you'd never believe it to look at that face. Author of Mindfulness for Dummies, which is many people will have read. Author of Relaxation for Dummies, no less. Look how relaxed he looks. Mindfulness at Work. So if you are a hard-working chicky babe, you may like to read Mindfulness at Work for Dummies. And of course, he's written The Mindful Way Through Stress.
Not for dummies.
And of course, not for dummies. No one would get stressed if they were dummies. And that's the latest book. I know there's some other things cooking in the pipeline. There always is. So as you can see, we do have a bit of a mindfulness guru here tonight. So I'm bowing a lot tonight, bowing and scraping. And I'm trying not to be overexcited. Not a mindful response, is it? Oh, he's here. Another dream come true. Thanks to Shamash Alidina. This is the man who brought mindful self-compassion into the UK. Thanks to Shamash, I learned mindful self-compassion. And as you know, MSc Bite Size is all about, mindful self-compassion in everyday life, how we can bring it to ourselves. So I want to just let Shamash lead everything tonight. However, well, actually, you may like to do this. This would be rather good. So Shamash, as I'm sure you know, we always start the MSc Bite Size with a soft landing. We just like to have a little moment, and I'm going to need it because I'm so overexcited. And I can't help myself. And of course, I'm thrilled that we didn't have to wait half an hour before we finally got the technology to work. So that was a miracle. As you are the expert, I would love you to invite you. I've just put Shamash on the spot. I didn't say I was going to do this, but would you be willing to give us, a few moments of soft landing?
Sure. So today, did you say today was World Meditation Day?
It is World Meditation Day today.
Today is World Meditation Day. I never even knew such a thing existed. So what a beautiful day to do meditation for world peace.
I know. And of course, we have Peace One Day, the 21st of September. So that's not long away now. And I know there'll be an amazing, what I haven't said to everyone, of course, but I've been telling everyone that Shamash is one of the co-founders of the Museum of Happiness. And there's going to be a big Peace One Day celebration at the Museum of Happiness on the 21st of September. So more celebration and more magic. But yes, so September's a really, really beautiful month.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much, Kathryn, for organising this. It's for the Museum of Happiness, for Vicky, and Vicky's the other co-founder, and myself. We feel that self-compassion, cultivating self-compassion and spreading it in the world is really, really important. And Vicky's done your trainings, and you've got this amazing training coming up in the museum as well later in the month. And just want to say thank you so much for organising this and all the extra effort, because I know this is on top of all the other stuff that you need to do. So I just want to acknowledge and give a big thank you to you and Liz for organising this. Really, really grateful.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's always a treat to do any activity with you and Vicky, and be part of the Museum of Happiness is such an honour. I love the place. I love it. I love what you're creating, and it just blossoms more and more, and is growing, and is this organic creature of love and kindness. So
so let's start with should we start with maybe 2 or 3 minutes of meditation, something like that? Okay, cool. So yes, I'm looking forward to this moment myself, because it's been a busy day for me. So let's start with a little meditation. So for all those that are joining us, a very warm welcome. Thank you for coming along. I hope you enjoy this little exercise. So you're invited to, first of all, turn your attention just gently inwards to your own body, And just look at your body and notice it. Notice how you're sitting or lying down or whatever posture you're in. And just adjust your posture so it's a little bit more comfy and cozy. Self-compassion is about being kind and compassionate to yourself, and it always starts with the body. So turn your attention just gently inwards, and I invite you to find a posture that feels nice and comfortable and at ease for you. I like to practice with my eyes closed, so you may like to gently close your eyes. And I'd like to invite you to just let go of all ideas of how you should be sitting or what you should be achieving in this meditation experience. There's all these ideas we see in the magazines, in the books, in the Facebook lives about people telling us what we should do, how we should sit, what we should focus on. See if you can just let that all go, just put that all aside and make it your own. So this is your time, this is time for you. And you can find out and discover for yourself in your own way what mindful self-compassion, what meditation, what finding peace means for you. So just taking your time to do that and allowing that to sink in, letting go of all ideas of what it means to be self-compassionate, to be kind to yourself, to meditate. And with your eyes gently closed, with your body in a nice, more comfortable posture. I'd like to invite you to imagine that you've been carrying two bags with you, one in your left and one in your right hand. Two bags that have been weighing you down. One bag in your left hand represents the past, and the other bag in your right hand represents the future. And you've been carrying these bags for a long time, ever since you were born, actually, through your experiences. And just for the next couple of minutes, giving yourself permission to lower those bags and just put them down so that you can enjoy a few moments in the present moment. So just visualizing as best you can today, feeling those heavy bags in your hands and just lowering them down, down, down to the ground until eventually they touch the ground and you get a sense of release, that sense of letting go. Because your past and your future, they're part of who you are. Just being in the here and now, the freshness of the present moment is also part of who you are. And in this moment, there's just the feeling of your body, there's the sound of my voice, there's the sensations in your body, there's the thoughts that pop up and down, there's your emotions that come and go. And also behind all that, there is a sense of silence, there's a sense of stillness, and a sense of wholeness. And that is part of who you are too. So taking a few moments to acknowledge, yes, you have these difficulties and challenges, but there's also a part of you that is already whole and already complete. Something that you can very easily see in a little puppy or a little kitten or a little baby. It's just that sense of beauty and perfection. And that's part of who you are too. So inviting yourself to breathe in and out and feeling your breathing, acknowledging this present moment experience. And just letting everything be. What we're doing is making friends with our body and making friends with our mind, going from a place of control and fixing to an attitude of allowing and accepting and making peace with things as they are, including the busy thoughts, including the difficult emotions, letting them all be. And perhaps as we come towards the end of this exercise, if it feels right for you, then maybe just gently placing your hand on your heart, feeling the warmth of your hand against your heart, taking a few deeper breaths in if you wish, nice smooth breaths out. And wishing the world well. It's World Meditation Day. There's literally millions of people meditating right now as best as they can, just like you. So wishing all those people well. May they be well and happy and find whatever they're looking for probably a sense of peace and contentment. And then just gently seeing if you can bring a little bit of that to yourself too. So you too are part of this beautiful human race, and you too deserve this peace and contentment. So see if you can bring even a little bit of that to yourself. It's great. Good. And then when you're ready to do so, gently noticing the effect of this exercise and gently bring it to a close. And I'll ring a little bell. Ding! Wow, that was a real bell. Good. So thank you very much for trying that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Shamash. I didn't want to stop.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, so good. You know, there's something so wonderful and effortless, actually, of the times that I have sat with you and listened to the way you teach and how you speak. It's such a great reminder of actually we don't need to push and strive and effort. You always make it so delightful and easy, and that's certainly one thing MSC has really helped me with, to recognize that if it's not delightful and has this ease and grace within it, it's actually not compassionate, it's not kind. Um, and and you just sort of embody that and make it look so easy. What's your secret, Shamash?
My secret is to hang out with Kathryn. And well, I like that word delight that you used, actually. If it's not delightful, it's not compassionate. Um, I've actually been working through some difficult emotions recently, and I was kind of trying to work them out, and I was actually doing the MSc recipe on them. So I was like trying to feel it and allow it, and maybe writing about it and putting my hand on my heart and feeling about it. And actually, in the end, what really helped was to actually laugh at it and to see how funny it was, and see, just taking that sense of the big picture and zooming out from myself. And that was kind of seeing the delight of it, and that really, really, really helped. So I actually totally agree with you. The I will talk probably a little bit more later on about this idea of kindfulness, but I think the importance of light-heartedness, of humor, of smiling at these things. It's not just a little sprinkle on top, which is like, oh, it's nice that we're smiling at it, or we're having a laugh at these things, or taking things easy. It's actually really, really core to it. And pretty much all the greatest teachers, I think, in spiritual traditions often have a nice smile on themselves. They don't take themselves too seriously, and so are able to work with these difficult emotions in a light-hearted way. And there's a balance. It's not about constantly laughing all the time at them. There's a time to really kind of be kind and gentle and nurture them. But in balance with that, to smile at them and to laugh at the whole situation, and to have some fun as well is really, really important. So it's the balance of those two. And when I do one of these, there's a test called the strengths test on in positive psychology, VIA, value and action strengths test. And I did that quite a few years ago, and laughter and playfulness came out as number one or number two for me. I never knew even that could even be a strength. And so when that came up, I'm like, oh wow, I should. And then they talk about you should be using that. I'm like, all right. Apart from being a stand-up comedian, I can't think of how else. I remember when I was a school teacher, all my students used to say, you should be on TV, you should do comedy. I'm like, well, actually, I don't want to, but yeah, thanks for the compliment. And and that's when I actually came across laughter yoga. And I thought, oh wow, there's an actual thing called laughter yoga, and I can train in it, and I can teach it a little bit. And then I started to realize that actually it's so healing and so nourishing and so helpful. And so bringing that kind of mix of lightheartedness, of friendliness, of playfulness together with the self-compassion, it's actually been quite a recent insight about how those two coming together is really, really important. We need to have both of them.
Well, we've got this lovely comment here from Chris Gardner saying, I have never seen someone laugh so fully, openly, and all the time as Shamash. He's awesome. And Chris, I can't agree with you more. And it is one of, you know, the most favorite and delicious qualities about you. And you know that it does come so easily to you. I mean, if there's laughter in the room, we can look up, it's bound to be you. And no matter what we're doing, and I totally agree with you about um how nourishing and nurturing and healing this can be, to bring balance. And as you say, not to laugh necessarily at things, but to bring a light-hearted approach to them. And you do seem to do that with ease. So how about you tell us a little bit about your, you know, journey to that? Were you always this easy to, you know, find it easy to laugh or be light-hearted around difficult situations? If you've been a teacher for 10 years, I know there's lots of teachers who'll watch this on the repeat if they find time. How, you know, how on earth did you manage, well, I mean, the history of obviously being a teacher and then realizing that, you know, actually it's the mindfulness element that was really feeding your heart, but were you naturally this
Yeah,
light and
yes. I don't normally go this far back, but my mum did say I used to laugh a lot as a child, and there's lots of photos of me just kind of really beaming away. So I think I was the
please
first.
everyone go on his website, there's some cute ones, really cute ones of him when he was little.
That's the one. Yeah. So I was like, my parents came over from East Africa, and then my mum's sister came over and brother, and so of that generation, I was like the first child. So I think I was really lucky. They just got very excited that there was a little child in the house, and I was really spoiled a lot. And I think maybe that, I don't know, that may have helped us. But I was very, very happy as a young child. Fortunately, I know a lot of people are not fortunate to have that, but I did at that very young age, and yeah, so maybe I was fortunate in that, and I have always enjoyed laughing and having this playful approach. It comes very naturally to me. The difficulties and challenges for me started happening when I went to secondary school, and there's a thing called homework that, that came along, and yeah, it was difficult. There was some bullying there, and it was boys' school, and I didn't really get on with my class, and it was really difficult. The first year I cried a lot, um, and really tough actually for quite a few years. And that was when I really realized actually life is not all about laughter and playfulness and fun. It's difficult. And so I went through that and then went the other side. And then what happened, I think, it's really interesting to share this story, is that I got praised for my academic success. And so I built my self-esteem on academic success. So at first I wasn't that good, but then I started getting more and more grade A's and like, oh, well done, you're a good boy, you're getting grade A's. So then, and then that actually made me feel good about myself. So rather than just having this fun and playful and just laughing for the sake of laughing, it became success equals happiness. And so I kept following that through and went to a really good university doing an engineering degree, which is pretty good for someone from an Asian background. So on paper, it's all looking good. And so I'm following the pattern. And then the wake up call for me was actually when I tried it as a job. And I was working in this engineering company. It was so boring, designing an oil rig in Indonesia. I'm like, what am I doing an oil rig in Indonesia? But I didn't know anything about mindfulness or consciousness or awareness. But I was actually taking so much time off, like going on lunch breaks, and you had to swipe in and swipe out. I ended up getting a negative paycheck in my last month. I knew that this is the wrong job for me. I'm not giving them money. They actually wanted me to pay them. What are they talking about? So, so even the calculation didn't calculate well. So yeah, so then I thought, okay, that's not right. And then that's how I ended up finding meditation and mindfulness. It was called meditation at that time, and it was in a philosophy class, and they beautifully described it. For a scientist, it was great. There's sleep, the lowest level of consciousness. I'm like, that makes sense. there's dream state, which is slightly higher consciousness. I'm like, yeah. There's normal everyday wakefulness where people haven't had their coffee and they're on the tube and they're kind of half awake and half dead. Semi-conscious state, which we call awake. But that's true. And they're like, guess what? There is a higher state of consciousness we can get to. And you can do that without taking drugs. You can do that through these Eastern practices of meditation and yoga and all this other stuff. I'm like, wow, is that possible? And so trying one of those exercises, which wasn't about compassion actually, that's something I discovered later on, but it was about cultivating greater awareness. And just in 5 minutes, just connecting with my sense, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old. I'm 20 years old and I'm learning this. I can't believe it. Every child in the world needs to learn this. I need to become a school teacher. So then I became a school teacher and I applied. There's just one school that I knew that taught meditation in Twickenham. If I get that job, then I'll be a teacher. Otherwise, I'll do something else. And luckily, I got that job. So that's how I ended up being and sharing
Yes, because in
meditation
that
there as
school
well
they
as Eastern
taught it.
philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That school started back in 1975. So probably one of the first schools in the UK to share meditation. And it was more of a mantra meditation. And there was a little bit of mindfulness there. It wasn't taught in a brilliant way, but they were doing the best they can, and I kind of went along with that. And so, yeah, it was beautiful. I was kind of living my dream, educating children every day in not just physics, chemistry, and biology, but we'd talk about awareness and we talk about consciousness and we talk about stillness and practice. There was quiet time, 10 minutes of quiet time every morning. At the end of every lesson, we stopped and we said, okay, let's pause. And everyone closed their eyes. And for 10, 20, 30 seconds, we just took a few moments to breathe between one lesson and the next. So that was really, really nice. It turned out that actually by pausing and relaxing, the children actually ended up having more energy than a normal child already, and the playground wasn't big enough, so it just causes complete mayhem. But when you saw them on the other side, they had this great stillness about them. It's funny, I was at the Museum of Happiness on Friday teaching my meditation class, and a guy came in and he's like, "Hello, I'm Ben." I'm like, "Hi, I'm Shamash." I'm like, "You look really familiar." He's like, "Oh my God, I think you were my biology teacher." It's one of my old students came in, and he came to the Museum of Happiness with his partner to do some mindfulness. He loved it, mindfulness and kindfulness. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
So you sowed that seed very young.
yeah. So
So can you
that's how I
talk
ended up.
about that transition from mindfulness to kindfulness and define what kindfulness is, because we haven't really talked about it on MSc Bite Size. We usually focus just on the compassion, and I know that will come, the self-compassion. But I think it's really helpful for people to understand. I mean, you're very well known for your mindfulness teaching, but you've developed it and it's blossomed into kindfulness, which I absolutely love, and I feel it's far more helpful in everyday life, and far more meaningful and useful for us in this mad 21st century living. So can you describe mindfulness, then kindfulness, and maybe we'll move into self-compassion a bit later.
Sure. So what happened is that I've been practicing mindfulness and meditation for a while, and it's more, there's a little bit of the friendliness and kindness in there, but it was more about cultivating awareness. And what happened is that I got busy like we all do, whether you're a mindfulness teacher or not, you can end up getting really busy, getting really tired and really worn out. And that's what happened to me. And I was feeling so worn out. I was feeling just really tired every day. So it really doesn't look good if you have a burnt out mindfulness teacher at the end of your career. Um, so I thought, okay, let me try this radical idea. Every time I feel sleepy, I'm going to sleep. And it was actually really hard because you think, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Why am I just sleeping all the time? But I tried to do it as best I could. So I was going to bed, like waking up and then feeling sleepy. And rather than looking at all the emails and things I had to do, I went back to bed at 11 a.m. or 12 and then just slept more. But I couldn't sleep that well. So I was on YouTube. And I ended up finding a YouTube on the 4 Ways of Letting Go by a teacher called Ajahn Brahm. And it was a really funny talk. And I really enjoyed it. And then after that talk, it says day one retreat, 10-day retreat, day one meditation, session one. So I clicked onto that. And this teacher, who I didn't really know much about, started to talk not just about mindfulness and kindfulness. And he said that for the first few days of this retreat, and I've been on retreats before where it's very disciplined. You start at 4 a.m. and you meditate. But this was different. This was like, listen to your body and be really, really kind to yourself and ask don't decide what you should do. Ask your body, what does your body want to do? If your body wants to sleep, then sleep. So even in this retreat, he was just like, lie down, close your eyes. If you fall asleep, absolutely fine. So it's this real genuine letting go rather than, you know, trying to meditate or meditate to reduce my tiredness, to actually fully accept it and embrace the tiredness and to be really friendly to my body. And then he taught the same with the mind. So he says, what we do with the mind, he uses the glass of water, and he says that, you know, uh, imagine the surface of the glass of water to be your mind and your thoughts. He said, the more you try to make that mind still and you try and focus, put your energy in, no matter how hard you try, it's always moving. He says, what you need to do is learn to put it down and let it go. And the way you do that is through kindness. And if you let this glass go down on a surface, water naturally comes to a very, very, very natural stillness. And in mindfulness, they often say, you know, the mind is always thinking. You just have to accept that. And that's the way I taught it as well. But I tried this approach of being really kind to my body and letting my mind think whatever it wants to think rather than trying to control it, and really emphasizing the kindness element. So if my body wanted to sleep. If it wanted to lie down, it's fine. If the mind wanted to wonder, like, okay, mind, you want to think about that, then go ahead. I'm not going to try and find peace or relaxation. I'm just going to let you think whatever you want to think. And then after just 2 or 3 days, I got one of the most deepest meditation experiences that I'd had in about 15 or 20 years. I had one of these experiences when I was just first started meditation, but it was like just, you know, my sense of my body disappearing and all these amazing lights. And it actually lasted, I haven't shared this, but actually lasted for quite a few days or maybe a week or two. I'd be walking down the street and almost getting into this different state of mind, which was very pleasant, very blissful. And it was like energy was going back into my mind. It was like being plugged into electricity, and the mind was so tired and it was like recharging itself. So I thought, oh my God, I don't think I've been meditating properly I've been teaching this mindfulness stuff, but actually it's the kindness and the compassion which is really, really important. I need to change everything that I'm teaching as best I can. So the reason he calls it kindfulness and I call it kindfulness now as well is because these things come often from mainly of Eastern traditions and particularly Buddhist traditions. And the Buddha talked about kindness and compassion even more than mindfulness. He really, really emphasized and he said it's really important. And so because mindfulness has become very popular, how can you bring the importance of the kindness and compassion into that word? And the easy way is to change the first letter. So just by changing that first letter, you're saying it's not a process of the mind, it's not a process of concentration and focusing and just increasing awareness, but it's a process that comes from our heart, our emotions. And so you could call it heartfulness or kindfulness. And even in my Mindfulness for Dummies book, I kind of had an idea of that because of the Chinese character for mindfulness is like a hat which represents a sense of presence. It's from a roof of a house, and the bottom part of the character is like a shape of a heart, and this is the hand. That looks nothing like heart, but it's kind of this heart shape underneath that thing. So it's about presence from the heart, being really present, not just with your head, but with your heart. So it describes meditation as actually more of an emotional journey. You feel your way through into meditation and mindfulness. It's not something that you think your way through. It's not a logical process. It's an opening. It's a let and go. It's a process of friendliness. It's a process of falling in love with yourself. So that's why I like to use the word kindfulness a lot. Ajahn Brahm's used it a few times in his teachings, but I think it's something that's really, really important. I've noticed actually this in the year that's coming, there's 3 books out with that title that are coming out soon. So it's becoming a popular term, and I'm really excited. I think there's this wave. I think more and more people are realizing the kindness and the compassion is what really makes the difference, rather than just cultivating a sense of awareness. So
yes, because I know this.
Gone.
Sorry, jumping in.
No.
I know there's lots of people when I say, you know, have you meditated before? How is your mind? You know, what's your practice like? Or have you ever done it before? And certainly I would often beat myself up about my mindfulness practice. It wasn't good enough, it wasn't long enough, my mind was too busy. Oh, I didn't reach that place of stillness, I should have done better, or I've missed a few days. And I hear this quite a lot. Oh, I can't be that disciplined. And it's such a different approach to actually bring a kindful and compassionate approach to, oh yes, well, this is what's showing up today. My experience has completely changed about my practice, and I am far friendlier. And it's okay to be human and have a busy mind. And I want to do your experiment now and have just listened to that mind and go to bed and do all that. So it is quite curious how, especially because we're in such an achieving world, and there is this still, you're a proper mindfulness teacher, or you're a proper meditator. And we have to, with MSC, we have to sort of try and melt that and let that go and say, actually, it's a myth. It's not true. And I remember sitting with Ajahn Brahm with you, and him saying, and I always quote him, you can wiggle your bottom if your bottom needs to be wiggled, if you get uncomfortable during this meditation. And it was just radically revolutionary for me. It's like, what you mean? I can let go of this posture, and I can, oh yes, curl up and be kind to the body. It's so much more compassionate and brings ease to the whole practice.
Exactly. It's very rare that meditation teachers say that, but it's kind of becoming a bit more common now with the compassion stuff. And I totally agree. He shares a story which I love, which is a beautiful story from the Buddha. And the Buddha's got a secretary called Ananda, and they're wandering around in one of their monasteries. They see one of the monks, and the monk is sitting against this tree, and he's kind of leaning against the tree, and his kind of eyes are closed, and he's half awake, he's half asleep, and his head is bobbing all over the place, and his robe's falling off. And the Buddha turns to his secretary Ananda and says, "Ananda, I'm not worried about this monk at all." And then they carry on going a little bit further into the forest, and then there's another monk, and he's meditating away, and he's absolutely back straight, eyes are closed, and he's got the perfect posture, and it looks really good, textbook style. And the Buddha looks at him and he turns to Ananda and says, I'm a bit concerned about. I never knew that the Buddha worried, but he's like, Ananda, I'm a bit worried about that guy. And what turned out is that the first monk who had this process of letting go and falling asleep and had this light-hearted kind of approach, he's the one who apparently got enlightened. And then the second one, who was kind of staying upright, he kind of disrobed within a week or two and kind of gave up. And so it's nice to see that even in those ancient teachings, the Buddha kind of emphasized the importance of, just chill out, don't take it too seriously. Another really good message is, if you look at the Buddha's life, when he was very, very young, he had all this money and all this fame and all this women and all this stuff that you'd think on paper would be great, but he wasn't happy with that. And so then he tried the other extreme, which is an ascetic lifestyle, where he kind of really starved himself and he worked really hard and he spent, I don't know if it was years, but loads and loads of time trying these ascetic practices from a Hindu tradition that didn't really work too. And when he gave up that, everyone thought, oh, he's not spiritual anymore, he's given up. But he actually ended up having a really good meal, one of his best meals before his experience of enlightenment. He had a lovely meal and he felt really full and content. He sat under a beautiful tree. The weather was nice. He sat on a nice, comfortable space, probably leaning against the tree too. And that was when he had his biggest insights. And one of his big things was to take the middle way, to take a balanced approach to life. So that's a beautiful thing to remember, that even, we put these kind of gurus and people on pedestals if they're working really hard or they're very disciplined. I don't really like that word, disciplined. It's more of a gentle, friendly approach, and that's what really works. And even these great teachers allude to that. So yeah, that's what kindfulness is all about, I think. Learning to be friendly and kind to ourselves, treating ourselves as we would a child or a friend.
And you certainly seem to be the living embodiment of that. I've yet to see, whilst I know sometimes you've been, maybe your body's been quite tired because you've had a really full-on week or whatever, but there always seems to be an ease about you even now. Now, is there another side to you that you want to confess or share with me now? But
Yeah, yes, there is. Yes, there is. In fact, as a kind of a meditation teacher, mindfulness teacher, kindfulness teacher, self-compassion teacher, what you're sharing is what people often share. Like, oh my God, you must be happy all the time. You're amazing, or you're the happiest. Or people do say that you're the happiest person I've ever met. And so the challenge for me in that situation is that that creates a sense of ego or a sense of personality. Like, I'm Mr. Happy and I need to be happy all the time. And that's a really dangerous place to be, actually, in terms of uh, the way we kind of walk through our lives. Because if you say that I'm Mr. Happy all the time, then you cannot be honest about your emotions, you can't share your difficulties and challenges, and it can become a dangerous place in the sense of you're not opening, you're not sharing, and it's actually not as resilient as being an open book type person. So that's actually been my very recent journey to learn to accept the difficulties and the challenges. To be honest, when I'm together with other people, it does make me really happy, and I'm not faking my laughter or my joy. It's genuine. But I do have my difficulties and my times when I feel lonely, times when I feel sad, times when I feel envious, and being honest about. I've been aware of that within myself, but my difficulty is to share that with others, and I'm just learning to do that a little bit now. And it's been I've been practicing with my friend Vicky and others, and that's been a really really beautiful process. It's really powerful, and it's something that I learned at Plum Village. I'd also like to share too. So some of you may have heard of Plum Village. It's a retreat center started by another very compassionate teacher called Thich Nhat Hanh, who's considered the second most famous Buddhist teacher in the world after the Dalai Lama. And I was so impressed by the monks and the nuns there and the atmosphere there. It really embodied kindfulness. There was a real sense of safety in the circles and in the group sharings. There was a light-hearted approach that didn't take it too seriously. But at the same time, there was a sense of a gentle discipline, a friendly, like, yes, let's pause now, let's eat now, let's be grateful for what we have, and let's be really honest with each other about how we're feeling rather than pretending that everything's really good. And let's embrace our imperfections. And, things are going well, yeah, share that things are going well. But if there's challenges that are coming up, then we are here for each other. Let's listen to each other because of it's we're all imperfect, and that's the beauty of us. One of my favorite analogies is that of a tree. Trees are never perfectly straight and perfectly aligned. And that's what makes them so absolutely beautiful. And it's the same with each of us as human beings. And it's hard for us to see ourselves, but we make all sorts of different mistakes. And if we can see that those mistakes, those imperfections, is what people love about us, actually, and that what we can learn to love about ourselves. If we were all the same, we'd be like robots. So the fact that we make these mistakes and do these stupid things and can't get the Facebook Live working, or today I was thinking I'm going to be talking about self-compassion and compassion. I had such a busy day, and I'm not sure how compassionate I'm being to myself. So I was doing these little exercises as I had to come prepare for this call, and yeah, it was a great feeling to think that, you know what, I'm not a mindfulness teacher or a kindfulness teacher or a self-compassion expert. I'm a human being with my own imperfections too, and I'm allowed to mess up just as much as anyone else. And in fact, I'm learning that as I can be more honest about my difficulties and challenges, people appreciate that, which is a bonus. Um, and and that helps remind other people that just like I'm an imperfect tree, we're all imperfect trees, and we're all together in this forest of beautiful imperfection, which the Japanese I think call wabi sabi, don't they? I think you probably shared about that, or you've talked about that. So yeah.
Beautiful, because I remember talking to Vicky about, well, as the co-founder of the Museum of Happiness, as you are, it puts you in a position. She said actually there was a self-imposed, I need to be happy all the time, and it wasn't necessarily a conscious realization that there was this internal pressure on herself. And so I really, it's, you know, she said once she'd learnt the mindful self-compassion way of being, that then she could allow all of her feelings while she was obviously very experienced with her emotions, but she could really invite them all in and befriend them and be seen as, well, actually today's a tough day, or I'm quite sad today, there's been some challenges. And that of course just creates, as you say, even more warmth for
Hey,
others to recognize that they too can be human. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like there's few things that you can genuinely call it as life changing, but I really noticed that because I've known my friend Vicky for a few years now, and she did that course with you quite a few weeks ago now. And ever since then, it wasn't something that just happened and she kind of had a transformation for a few days and went back. But it was a long-term shift that happened to her. And it's because of the beautiful way that you taught it and the beautiful way that you've been trained through a scientifically based model, uh, techniques that have been proven on thousands of people to be effective, different exercises. And so, and as she's learned that and practiced that, I can see, wow, this program is really powerful. And it's a long-term change, not a quick fix. Not like, you go to an anti-robbings thing and you get really excited and you do this thing and then, yeah. And the motivation goes straight down again. But this is something which is seriously tested and eventually it will be prescribed. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion, where the level of evidence will be probably even better than a lot of medication, and a doctor will say, okay, I can see that what you require is a course with Kathryn MSc. And people will go along and it will have that powerful effect. So, yeah, it's
yes,
good
I
stuff.
mean, certainly the research that Kristen Neff's done so far, you know, it's at least a year after the course, it's still having its powerful benefits. And that is, I think, why it's been so powerful for myself and Liz and a lot of the Kind Mind Academy grads, is that there's lots of informal practices. It's very accessible in everyday life. You can give yourself what you need. You can learn to do that in the moment of difficulty and suffering. And that's very different from, remove myself from the issue, sit on a cushion, give myself, half an hour practice, and then go back into the real world. And I love that actually we can give ourselves this kindness, for the littlest of things. Or I just, stub my toe as I was, getting out of my chair. Ouch! Oh, I can be kind to myself rather than, oh, silly me, shouldn't have done that. Right across to the big things where, loss of life and struggling with bereavement and maybe losing a job, or the big things in life, and it's real. It's big, and as you say, there's lots of evidence already, even though it's still quite a young practice in, certainly in Buddhist terms, um, uh, to demonstrate the benefits, reducing anxiety and depression and increasing life satisfaction and happiness. It's really making a difference in everyday life. Mm.
Exactly. And actually, yeah, we say the early stages, but if we consider these Eastern traditions, they've been tested for at least 2,500 years, if not more, and they've evolved. That's where a lot of these practices have ultimately come from, if we're honest about it. And what's happening is all those practices that came out in the East are now being tested, like, oh, that one works, and oh, that one works, and oh, that one works. And now they're coming to the self-compassion and the compassion stuff as well. And like, oh, okay, this works too. Um, and so that is a science in itself. People have been practicing different exercises and observing the effects over thousands of years, not just 5 or 10 years that the recent research has been happening. And it's
Yeah.
great that it can be confirmed that way, but it's good to acknowledge both. And so, you know, the Buddha and other teachers of from actually not just the Buddhist tradition, but all sorts of traditions, they emphasize the importance of service and a sense of kindness, and that obviously has to come start with ourselves. If we're harsh on ourselves and using harsh language on ourselves, why would positive, kind language come out of our mouths? It wouldn't, because of that brain is filled with this sense of negativity. It's obviously going to stimulate the stress response, and so you're going to be more in a fight or flight mode, and you're not going to be this friendly, kind person and create this friendly, kind world, which hopefully we all want to have, this caring, nurturing world. So really does, and the way we behave on the outside is obviously based on what's happening on the inside. The thoughts and the emotions that we cultivate and the attitudes we bring towards ourselves are obviously going to reflect in the way that we treat others. So if we can learn to start softening that language, or at least step one, becoming aware of that language that we use on ourselves, the attitude we take towards ourselves, and bring a little bit of more friendliness. We can't be perfectly friendly all the time. A little bit more kindness, and then a little bit more playfulness as well. That lightheartedness, like, oh my God, I'm a self-compassion teacher and I'm beating myself up. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
Or look, I'm supposed to be a self-compassion teacher and I haven't slept for 3 days or something. I don't know, whatever it is. And actually laugh about that too, because none of us
Yeah.
are perfect. Then that could really really help. So remembering these things and just remembering that another practice that comes to mind, which people don't talk about so much, but I think it's really powerful. We learn a lot about gratitude. Like, I'm grateful for this person, I'm grateful for that person. There's a lot of research on that. But there's another practice that I've heard about, which is to actually reflect on all the acts of kindness that we've done. Because of another kind of challenge I have is I do lots of good stuff, but I don't actually feel that I do that much good stuff. Actually, I've noticed. Think, oh, well, people say, "Oh, you're really kind." I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, maybe. I don't really. I find that hard to acknowledge. So the practice of thinking, actually, what were all the things that I did, which makes me a good person, makes me a nice person, and I was reflecting on that as I was traveling to come back home. Like, okay, I did this for this person, and that was really nice of me. And then I run a thing called the Zen business with my friend, and I helped to organize that. So that was nice of me. And I went to print out the certificates, and that was I haven't thought about that, but yeah, that was nice of me. And then I did, and so this can actually really kind of nourish ourselves because of what makes us feel happy. I think ultimately, all of us as human beings, is to feel that we are kind people and that we're nice people, and we are, and we do a lot of these kind acts, but we don't notice that we're doing them. The very fact that you have made the time to create this call and created this Kind Mind Academy is because you love it, and it's an act of kindness. Like, yeah, you may be enjoying it, it may be great for you, but it's actually also going to help a lot of other people. So that was really kind of you. You texted me to make sure that I did all the stuff right. So then it makes it a great experience. Yeah, it makes it great for you, but it makes it great for the audience. We're doing this to share the fact that we're teaching this, you're going to be teaching this 5-day course at the museum, but that is actually a beautiful act of kindness, going to help out the museum happiness and all those people. It's going to help with other people. And I think I realized that I never take time to reflect on the good things that I do for others and just think about what can I do next? What can I do next? But to stop and to reflect, like, yes, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and that's really nice of me. It is another a practice of self-compassion, another angle on it, which I think is a beautiful practice.
Yes, I mean, in the final session of the intensive, of the training for mindful self-compassion, we look at self-appreciation. And I think this is very much connected to what you're talking about. I might have to sit down with you with that exercise again. And it was one of the most painful exercises for me because I found it so hard. I found it so difficult, and I couldn't find anything that I could really genuinely receive. And MSC has changed all that. So I really I love that. Let's really reflect on the acts of kindness, and it can be something so simple, can't it? Well, I held that door open for that chap that was carrying all those books. It doesn't have to be, that I created all these amazing things for homelessness, or created peace one day. It doesn't have to be global. It can be that tiny thing that makes all the difference to one person.
That's a
Yeah.
really good point. Yeah, self-appreciation. I love that. Yeah, never thought there was a word for it. Brilliant. I forgot about that. It must have been a practice I did on the course ages ago. I forgot about it. It's beautiful.
You must have left before that one. Well, I'm
Yeah,
very aware
actually,
of
I
the
think I
time.
did.
We're
I
nearly
missed the
up
last word.
on the hour. I
What
um
time
I
is it?
cannot
I
believe
can't
that
tell.
we've had it's 5 to 9.
Oh wow.
I am just I could talk to you all night, and I know there's lots and lots of people that have been really enjoying what you've been sharing. I am just in awe. I'll try and take you off the pedestal when I see you next. But it is such a delight to hear your sharing of not only your wisdom but your common humanity, and your willingness to recognize your imperfections, your humanness, and it gives us permission to be human and to continue spreading the word as best we can, as you know, compassionate messes, we call it in MSc, you know, doing our best as best we can with the resources we have, and the mistakes we make, and with the joy we bring. So thank you so much for coming, for sharing. This has been just magical, and I'm so excited it's recorded so I can watch it back. Of course, thank you very much for not only bringing Mindful Self-Compassion to London all those years ago, where a few of myself and a few friends came to that original training, but also then for inviting us into your Museum of Happiness, your beautiful, you know, your and Vicky's beautiful space. And at the end of September, we will spend 5 days soaking up the magic that is the Museum of Happiness and sharing the message of mindful self-compassion. Yeah. So,
yeah. Please come along. If anyone's listening, they can get to London. Check it out. What's the dates for it?
Liz, 26th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 30th, 20. The last week in September.
It's a Monday to Friday.
Museum of Happiness.
Exactly, last week of September.
Yeah. So, Shamash, it just leaves me to say a deep namaste. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your magical joy and peace and love and awesomeness. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Oh, thank you, Liz. 24th to the 28th of September. And if you want to know more, Shamash has shamashalidina.com. He's got lots of information there. If you want to learn mindfulness, go hang out with him. He's an amazing teacher. There's loads of fabulous courses at the Museum of Happiness. Please plug into the Museum of Happiness website. There's lots of information, lots of wonderful things. Peace One Day, there's a big concert and a celebration there. There's so much to share. And there's people from all over the world watching tonight. Rianne's just said thank you so much. She's really enjoyed it. She's from the Netherlands. And I know there's quite a few grads that have been on tonight. So, and I always rave about you. And obviously I've mentioned you in my book, Every Teacher Matters. You're in there. I quote your awesomeness there. So thank you everyone for watching. Please continue sharing your magic and what you've learned tonight. And if you want to get in touch with Shamash, Liz has put some links down there as well for you. Time for a drink. God bless everyone. Thanks a million. Night night.
Bye. You can't drink from an empty cup.
Bye.
Bye. I don't know how to end this.
See you soon. Bye.
It's one of those awkward things where you say bye, but then you don't know where to go.
I'll speak to you in a minute. Lots of love.